Breaking news, Sean P. Diddy Combs has been arrested and indicted on federal charges. But according to the New York Times, a person familiar with the prosecution says they believe Diddy faces charges of racketeering and sex trafficking.
Say what?
After freak-offs, Combs and victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use.
Wait a minute. Wait. First of all, you're not going to speed past that like you didn't just say what you just said.
Considered the greatest spitting. I tell them I'm Christ like they envision modern Christian. Tell them I'm nothing like check conditions of how I'm living. I preach Christ, we ain't fake delivering. Listen. Candyman, soon as they. It's not about how much Bible chapter and verse you know. It's about how much Bible you willing to obey. Now, for me, it was never about if the feds was going to lock Diddy up. It was always about when they was going to lock Diddy up. Now, Gene Deal, one of Puff's former bodyguards, called this out months ago. Y'all check out this clip.
September on the way, man. You still think Diddy get arrested?
I believe he's coming in September. Because you got to realize, the grand jury intervened. They may have 45 days, 60 days, 90 days. They never usually go past 120 days. They got enough information, and they probably got enough stuff that he's probably willing to plea bargain or see if they're going to give him that, or if they're going to let him plead or something.
I'm going to tell y'all why I'm confused with this whole Diddy situation. I'm not really confused, but I'm just going to tell y'all my confusion with, all this drama that's unfolding with, with Diddy. Now, let's be real. Diddy been known to throw crazy parties since the 90s. We all know Diddy was out here moving crazy since the 90s. And everyone in Hollywood and in the music industry knew how Diddy parties got down. Everybody knew it. So with all these new allegations coming to light, with all these new, accusers, I just question a few things, alongside of all this stuff. You know what I mean? We know the situation that went down with Cassie. You know what I mean? Now, Cassie got paid off. Cassie got her bread and slid, right? You know what I mean? Now, is it safe to say, hear me out. Is it safe to say that the other women who's making these allegations against Diddy was, willingly putting themselves in the line of fire at Diddy parties? I'm just saying, because nobody is coming out saying where all this stuff happened. I know he happened with the trial and all this stuff, so a lot of stuff probably gonna come out during the trial. But, if he was throwing all these parties and bringing in all these exotic women, it was like, well, why was he doing the stuff he's being accused of behind the scene? Y'all see what I'm saying? Listen.
He's not alive, but he's right.
Now, could it be? Just hear me out, y'all. I'm just making observations. That's it. Could it be? This could be one of those situations where y'all remember when our mothers used to say, I brought you in this world and I can take you out. Now, could it be the dominant society has called Diddy's number, you know what I mean? And they no longer need Sean Puffy Combs. Listen, they no longer have no use for Sean Puffy Combs. Diddy, P. Diddy, whatever y'all want to call him. Brother Love, I don't know. Maybe he's disposable to them now, But hold up, stop the show. It's without question, and it's obvious, Diddy was a super freak. Diddy was into some freaky stuff. We just seen in, the indictment, that just came, that when they ran up in this crib, the indictment states authority seized, a bunch of narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubrication, from Diddy's house, when they raided over, in March. You know what I mean? Now, I guess if you want to party like how Diddy party, you're going to need a bunch of lubrication. I mean, hey, listen, lube is essential. But my thing is, what's with all the baby oil, Diddy? Now, I'm I'm afraid I don't want to know that answer. But anyway, I'm not saying Diddy isn't guilty of any of these charges and any of these allegations. But the charge that they really try to stick on him is the human sex traffic charges and racketeering.
Freak-offs were elaborate and produced S performances that Combs arranged, directed, pleasured himself during, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs transported commercial S workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasted multiple days, and often involved multiple commercial S workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims to keep them obedient and compliant. Sometimes, unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of them engaging in S acts with commercial S workers. After freak-offs, Combs and victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. Members of the Combs enterprise facilitated the freak-offs by booking hotel rooms for the freak-offs, stocking the rooms in advance with required supplies, including controlled substances, 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant, extra linens and lighting, cleaning the hotel rooms after to try to mitigate room damage, and arranging for travel. Law enforcement seized more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. What? During and separate from freak-offs, Combs hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair, resulting in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. He also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods if they resisted participating in freak-offs. Victims believed they could not refuse Combs' demands without risking their financial or job security without repercussions. He also used the sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating recordings made during freak-offs as collateral to ensure the continued obedience and silence of victims.
Now, a lot of people seem to be confused on why they hit Diddy with the racketeering charges. Now, I'm gonna show y'all why they needed to put the racketeering charges on Diddy in order for the human sex charges to stick, so Diddy could end up, just pleading out at the end of the day. Now, watch this. Racketeering is a term often associated with organized crime and refers to the act of running illegal businesses, activities, or schemes. Racketeering involves engaging in dishonest and fraudulent schemes to generate profit. It often pertains to organized crime groups that maintain control over illegal activities. Y'all follow me, right? Y'all follow me. In the United States, right, racketeering is defined under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization. In other words, AKA the RICO law. The same thing they hit YSL, Young Thug, and John Gotti, and all the rest of these, criminal organizations. Or, well, I ain't gonna say YSL was a criminal organization because at the end of the day, it was a record label, but all the stuff that they had, going on behind the scenes. But anyway, pay attention. I need y'all to pay attention to this. Racketeering can include a variety of illegal activities, such as extortion, loan sharking, drug trafficking, fraud and scheming, and last but not least, now watch this, human trafficking. See, they hit Diddy with the RICO charge because they can use all the accumulated stuff that he did over the course of years at his parties and all that stuff. They could try to use that against him. That's why they hit him with the RICO. The RICO Act allows law enforcement to target individuals and organizations involved in a pattern of racketeering activities over time. So they could try to, bring up a lot of dirt. That's why you see a lot of these people start to come forth. They put that one accusation on him. I'm only saying accusation for the sake of this podcast because all this stuff is still alleged, because in America you still presume innocent until presumed guilty. So the real question is, that money Diddy made in the music industry, all that money he made with his clothing line, Sean John, and all that money he made off his alcohol brand, Ciroc, and all that stuff, you know what I mean? One would have to think like, yo, like, why would he be out here sex trafficking? Now, they not using, in my observation, they not using sex trafficking because they believe he was out here, you know what I mean, moving humans. I don't think they believe that he was moving humans. Now, they using it in another way. Now, watch this. The reason why they are using the RICO charge to charge Diddy with racketeering because he was flying these chicks and these dudes out domestically and internationally to, do these freak offs, as, the feds call it. They hit him with the RICO charge because Diddy is a brand. Hence, and what they trying to say now is a criminal organization, whether they're going to try to use Bad Boy or all his other, brands, or either his name, because his name is actually a brand as well. So they trying to say that he was funneling, his his organized organizations to do organized crime. You see what I'm saying? And that's why they charging him with racketeering. Now, this is how they can charge him with human sex trafficking. He was flying these dudes and these girls out. So technically that's human sex trafficking. Technically, that's why they gotta label this a sex freak off, But here's the crazy thing, right? Now, although those men and women were willful and consenting participants, because, they was paid sex workers. The feds can still, try to use the law, to put charges on Diddy, which they is, and I'm going to explain that in just a second. When the feds are after you, it's time to wrap it up. I remember I heard an ex-federal agent say this. He said, the feds play by a different rule book. There are laws in place that, they could play semantics with words that they can actually, those laws can get you off, or they can prosecute you, essentially giving you life in prison. And that's what I see they doing with Diddy. We just don't know yet, because you know how the legal system, they know how them lawyers know how to play with them words. They play semantics with the law all the time. Y'all know in the black community it's law enforcement, and then for another community it's protect and serve. We live under the two justices in America. But here's the thing, I don't know why they hitting him with them human trafficking charges, but I do know this: the latter part of the book of Numbers, chapter 32, verse 23 says, "Bang! And be sure your sins will find you out." And sure enough, Diddy's sins is finding him out. Sure enough. Now, we better be sure that our sins will find us out too, because we listen. And this only, applies to Diddy. Diddy applies to us all. Now, do I believe Diddy was into some type of human sex trafficking? I don't put nothing past anybody. I mean, nobody. After all, a lot of these black celebrities in Hollywood and the music industry and all that is puppets. And word on the street, Diddy was a puppet in the hands of Clyde Davis. They say Clyde Davis used Diddy to do a lot of his dirt and do a lot of his bidding. That's what they say around the streets, allegedly. I don't know. Now, y'all remember when Prodigy of Mobb Deep said this?
The Hip Hop Task Force was created to watch Sean Puffy Combs, P. Diddy, to watch the artists that was connected with P. Diddy. And then it just grew. What they were doing was profiling black people that were making money in the music industry.
So yeah, the hip hop police, that task force, the feds, listen, they've been watching Diddy for a very long time. And in my honest opinion, when they don't need you no more, they weaponize the task force, the feds, them folk that was keeping a tab on you. I believe they do that with all the rappers. All the rappers, they dry snitch on themselves anyway. That's the reason why y'all notice when Diddy first got locked up, they picked up his so-called alleged drug dealer. Anyway, look at what they always do to these black celebrities that get caught up in some nonsense. I'm not gonna say nonsense. It's their own mess because of their own flesh and all that stuff. They get caught up and fall victim to their own mess. You know what I mean? But look what these people do. They will drain your resources. They're gonna make sure they draining all your money while putting all these allegations on you, so you can hire more lawyers and pay all the lawyers and court fees and all that stuff. Essentially, trying to bankrupt you so you can't use your money to bail yourself out of this trouble. You know what I mean? They did that with Murder Inc. with Ja Rule and them. Now look at Herb, he's hurting. They did that with Michael Jackson, all his lawyer fees and all that stuff. They did that with Bill Cosby. They did that with R. Kelly. Look, listen, I'm not saying these people are innocent, but what I'm saying is that these people will make sure that you get tied up in litigation so that you can start spending them checks on high power lawyers. Then they will use your own mess, your own dirt to bring you down. Essentially, using the very thing they enabled you to do to bring you down. So you think you getting away now? You think you was P. Diddy the man and having all these crazy parties and doing all this stuff? Nah, that's the very thing they use to bring you down. Y'all remember the movies when they get dirt on these politicians? The villain get dirt on these politicians and use that to keep these politicians in line. So whenever that villain or that mobster want to do what he want to do, he gonna dangle that over your head. That's essentially what Hollywood do to a lot of these black superstars. You know what I mean? Now, at the end of the day, that's how the entertainment business work when it comes to black celebrities. Most of our great entertainers, our great celebrities, Michael Jackson and all the rest, you know what I mean? Most of them died broke. I mean, not broke to our standards, broke to where they could have done a lot of things had they not get caught up in all these allegations and all this stuff. I mean, again, not to say that they weren't guilty, not to say they was guilty. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is we see the same pattern over and over again. A bunch of our celebrities, when they transition, they die broke or with a bunch of accusations on them. You know what I mean? Look, name one black celebrity who went that don't have no accusations on them. You know what I mean? That's just how the game go in entertainment. Now, like I said, I'm not saying Diddy wasn't a dirtbag. I'm not saying he wasn't guilty. I'm not saying any of all that stuff. All I'm saying is we have all saw this script before. Hey man, I think y'all for rocking out with me. It's your boy St. Reese, and this is another broadcast of the Gutta And Saved podcast. Man, do something for the podcast today. Go to our merch store, gasmerch.com. It will be pinned down in the description area, man. I thank y'all for rocking out with me, and until next time, see y'all on the flip. Peace. Considered the greatest spitting. I tell them I'm Christ like they envision modern Christian. Tell them I'm nothing like check conditions of how I'm living. I preach Christ, we ain't fake delivering. Listen, Candyman, soon as they. It's not about how much Bible chapter and verse you know. It's about how much Bible you willing to obey.